Good morning, this is H coming at you with another Autodesk Inventor 2023 tutorial. This is the SOLIDWORKS Education Lesson 25 and 26 video. We're going to jump right into it here. This is Lesson 25 that we're currently looking at. And again, we've been looking at these part files and creating them, looking at the drawing, kind of talking through the process of where we start, why do we start there, and then the procedure as we create sketches and extrusions to make these parts. So this lesson 25 part here is a fairly simple part, and there is definitely a best practice when it comes to where to begin this part here. Again, we're looking for a view that is given to us that gives us the most information. This is both the visual information of what the part looks like in comparison to what its end product is, and of course the dimensional numerical information of all the dimensions that are present in the drawing itself. So this is our isometric, our 3D view here, and we're going to compare this to the other views. And obviously we can completely disregard this right side view. It's got one dimension. It looks like an L. It's not very comparable to what's going on. So we look at our top view and our front view. And in all honesty, the top view is okay. There's not as many dimensions there, which kind of leads me like the front view is going to be our choice. Because there's more dimensions. But there's another reason why the front view is my choice in this particular situation. Even though the top view isn't bad, it's got the circle and this kind of visual information here that we're going to have to do regardless. We're going to have to cut out regardless of which we choose. If we choose the front view or the top view, we're going to have to do one of those things. Very similar to a lesson that we did earlier. I think it was lesson like 24 or something like that. It was very recently where we had like an inverse effect to the front view, top view, where we had to basically cut a hole and fill it. So we're going to do the front view here, and it's mainly because if we draw this front view, draw this shape out, and then this rectangle here is going to turn into this like shelf piece, and then we can fill it that shelf and cut a hole in it, and we're done. Okay, so that's the other kind of component I'm thinking about, is drawing this front view so that we can get this here and done. So let me slide this over to my other monitor. We'll get Inventor up and running. We're going to start a sketch from the XY plane. This is our front plane here. And we're going to start, let's start with the circle actually, and start at 0, 0 right here. This is 20. And here we're going to have 40 as our diameter for that. And now we have, so this is our circle. Then we're going to kind of branch off these circles in order to fill this in. We're going to do some trimming and everything else as well to make this happen. So this line here is going to be 30. Now we'll take a moment here. Again, what we're looking at with this line tool is we have the 53. We'll type that in to make that 30. We're also given two symbols. There's one that's above the circle. It's going to be very hard for me to show it, but there it is right there. And then there's this symbol here. This symbol means that this line is tangent to this circle. That's a constraint. We'll talk about, there's another video talking about constraints and sketches there. And then this is the horizontal constraint. So this line is also horizontal. It's a horizontal line at 0 degrees. We'll hit enter, right? So there's those symbols again. There they are. And it's all the information. It's the information about that line. It's very, very specific information. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to draw this line here. Come across basically to like right here, the middle of the circle. This line is supposed to be 70. So we're going to make this 70. We're going to have to do a little bit of a trick here. Okay. So this point and this point here, they need to be lined up like that, right? They need to be aligned just like that. So we need to make sure this is a horizontal line, which it is. But now we need to make sure that this point and this point are on the same vertical line. You see this vertical line that's being made here. So if we go to the vertical constraint tool and click on this center point of the circle and this line, it's going to make it so those 2 points line up with each other, right? And that's a key feature of this. And then of course we can finish this by drawing the 10 mm line that is going to be right here. So 10. And there we are. We just want to make sure that this is correct here. So from this to this should be 50. There it is. Now we're cooking. Now we're good because now there's a connection there, and we got a fully constrained sketch. Okay, so we've done a little bit of back and forth with this sketch specifically, but that's what's going to happen as we go into some part files that are a bit more tricky, a bit more advanced. There's going to be different methodology to get there, but we will get there. Okay, and again, you might have done it a different way, but you come up with the same answer. The journey is what matters. The journey doesn't matter as much as the destination, the finished product being correct. Okay. Now I'm going to trim out what I don't need. I don't need that curve right there. Now this error message is important because this error is because I got a dimension on this 40 millimeters that's right here. So if I delete that dimension and then trim it, we're good. I just want to make sure I re-add this dimension again to make sure that nothing changes on the sketch, right? Now, the last thing we need to add is we need to make sure that we close in the profile that is over here. This closed in profile here, this is going to be 40, and it's going to come down 10, and there it is. So we have our rectangle profile and then this giant profile that's here. We're going to extrude these. And our first extrusion is going to be the big one, the big guy here. This big guy is going to be an extrusion of 10 millimeters, super easy and done. And then we'll hit the plus sign. And then this small rectangle, this is where it gets kind of tricky. It gets kind of interesting because this is what's given to us in our right side view. We're given a dimension of 40, but we have to add this 10 that's to it already. So we got to 50. We'll hit enter on that. So here's our shelf, what we were talking about. So now we need to do some filleting, right? We want to do the fillets and then we'll cut the hole because the hole is centered on the same center point as the fillet center point. So our radius is 20 and we want to just click that and click that in. There it is. That's our fillet there, done and complete. And now we want to start our sketch here on the shelf, on this surface here, because we want to add that circle that's using the center point of the fillet. We highlight the curve and we go and we click on the center point to 20 millimeters. And then we extrude it and we cut it out, make sure we're cutting out all the material. And there it is. And that is lesson 25, a really interesting part file. Definitely some tricks in there and some unique sketching that you got to do on that front view, but it gets us there and we are looking good. All right. So now let's continue on to lesson 26. Lesson 26 is in comparison to lesson 25, fairly simple. We have a basic stair step style of part file here, except for this ramp. So we have like an extrusion of 20 that's here, and then another 10 and 20, and then they want us to chamfer that if we extrude this up 20 from the base here, we're chamfering that. So we want to draw this top view for sure, because it's going to include the circle in there, the fillet, everything in there. And we're going to do this fairly quickly because all the information is here in the top view for us for sure. So I'll slide that over and I'll just go to start a new part file, standard millimeter, start my sketch on the top plane here. And I'm going to start with the circle tool right at 0, 0 once again with the diameter of 20 millimeter circle. Then I'm going to make a rectangle, right? I'm going to make just a 2-point rectangle and I'm just going to draw it in here just to make sure I get the boundaries set of where this circle needs to go and what the dimensions are of this. This is 50 millimeters here. There we go, 50 millimeters. And then this top here is also 50 millimeters. So it's actually a nice square. However, the hole, the circle, is not centered on the square, which is why we made this the way that we did. So we have 20 millimeters from there and also 20 millimeters to the bottom here. So this circle is definitely kind of skewed to the bottom right side of this square in our top view, right? So 20 millimeters and then 20 millimeters gets us the location of that circle, well, of this square around that circle. And now we got to add in the profiles that we need to add in here that are going to be the additional kind of stair steps of the design, right? So this line here is going to be 40 millimeters long, and it's going to be 10 millimeters away from this edge. Then we want to start another line that's here coming this way. And it's going to also be 40 millimeters long, and it's going to just touch this edge and kind of close that off. But we just want to make sure it's also 10 millimeters, and it is 10 millimeters from the top line to here. It's a lot of dimensions going on here. Let's see if we can clean it up a little bit for visual sake to some degree. So we drew this line that's highlighted red. It's a 40 millimeter line. It's 10 millimeters from the top edge, and that satisfies that. The last line we need is actually going to be right down kind of the middle of this area here. It's 10 millimeter line. We just got to make sure that it's 20 millimeters from that edge there. And now we got our profiles. So we got all of our profiles in there, the circle, all that other good stuff. So I'm going to finish my sketch. I forgot the fillet in there sketch, so we'll have to fillet that as a secondary step, which is fine. So I'm going to extrude all of this, all these profiles, the reverse direction. I'm going to flip it and make it 20 millimeters because that's our base. And then I'm going to hit the plus sign. Now this, I also need to extrude 20 as well as this one. So these are two that are 20s. So those two profiles are 20s. I'll hit plus sign. And then this one, the final one, this is 10. I'm going to hit enter. And now we're beginning to take shape. So now we're going to chamfer this edge here. This chamfer, though, is one that is two different distances. The horizontal distance of the chamfer is longer than the vertical distance. So I'm going to hit the two distance one. I'm going to click on the edge. The horizontal distance here is going to be 40. So it's going to go right to that kind of wall right there. And the vertical distance is going to be 20. It's going to go 20 downwards. And I'll hit enter. And that's my chamfer, just like that. Now, the last thing I need to do is, because I forgot it when making the sketch, is I have to fillet this corner right here. And it's a fillet with a radius of 10. So I'll just fillet this corner right here, hit OK. And there it is. That is lesson 26. Okay, so fairly easy. Again, a stair step effect, a little bit of confusing on the sketch as far as getting the fillet goes, but it works out. Again, if you miss it in a sketch, you can make up for it sometimes and using the modify tools for the 3D material that you make. So just keep yourself moving forward and you'll be good. I hope you all have a great day. We'll see you in the next tutorial.